Happy Friday Eve day to everybody. I'm so excited about this interview today. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure that I'm live in my group where I need to be. Here we go. Yep, I can see that we're live. The tech is working. All right, we've got Facebook and YouTube here with us. YouTubers, I want you to smash that subscribe button so you never miss one of my weekly live videos. And if you're coming to me through Facebook and you haven't given StreamYard permission for me and Susan, for Susan and I to see your Facebook username, please do that. Jump over to StreamYard, stream like a water stream, yard, all one word, .com/Facebook. And just say, yeah, StreamYard, it's okay to show Tracy and Susan my name so that we can see your name in real time in the comments. Otherwise, it just says Facebook user and we don't know who you are. That's no fun. Today, I'm going to chat with my client, my friend, Susan Smith. She is a long arm quilter that turned her love of quilting into a massively successful online business, generating well over 6 figures every year. And she did this through starting with one digital course. But just in case we're brand new to each other and we've never met, I am Tracy Beavers. I am your business and sales coach with over 20 years of experience in marketing, sales, and business growth. I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs just like you grow your audience, get visible online so you can grow those email lists and get the monthly income that you really, really want. My friends, I want you to pop your questions and comments into the chat for us as we go along. Susan and I are open books when it comes to life and business. We're happy to answer anything. But let me introduce her to you. You are going to love her as much as I do. She grew up in Northern Canada in a home that was reminiscent of the pioneer days, no electricity or indoor plumbing. Kind of like Little House on the Prairie.
Very much.
She learned to sew and make quilts on a treadle sewing machine right alongside her mom. Now, if that's not special, I don't know what is. And you fast forward all the way to 2015, she purchased her first long arm quilting machine and she fell in love with the art of freehand quilting. And since then, she's accumulated a wall full of ribbons. She's appeared in a number of quilting magazines and books. She teaches for Bernina across the country. But what matters most to her is encouraging novice quilters. So these days, she teaches machine quilters in a step-by-step approach to freehand quilting so they can move out of paralysis and into confidence and skill. And through her online programs and courses, she achieves consistent 5-figure months, predictable, repeatable social platform growth, and all those wonderful, meaningful relationships with her online audience. You guys know how much those meaningful relationships mean to me as well. Susan, welcome. We are thrilled you're here. I know my audience is so excited to hear about your journey from having an in-person quilting business to now having an online business with millions of views on YouTube, thousands, tens of thousands of Instagram followers, and a business that generates well over 6 figures for your family, all through quilting. Is there anything you want to add to your introduction or share with us before we just dive into all the questions I've got?
I don't know. I think you covered it pretty thoroughly. It's been a remarkable, remarkable journey. Who would have thought that a crafter could do this? I might add, just for those who don't know, because many of your audience probably doesn't know what a long arm quilting machine is. It's like an industrial size sewing machine set on rails and a frame. And it's about 12 feet long so that I can load any size quilt right up to a California King onto those rails. And then I move the machine over the quilt and add the pretty design that quilts all the layers together. So that's what a long arm quilt machine is.
I love that. And I am mesmerized. You guys, after this training is over, go find her on Instagram. She's Stitched by Susan in all the social places. And you'll see what she's talking about. Like literally, she will video her hands moving. And it's just mesmerizing to me. It's definitely an art. Susan, I want you to tell us a little bit more about you. Like, I know I mentioned in 2015 is when you kind of got your start, but give us the backstory on it. How did you get started in this? It went from a hobby to now you want to do it into a business. What has that been like?
Well, as so many of us crafty folks do, I began quilt making and then long arm quilting purely because I loved it. Long arm quilting machines, even a pretty basic one is about the same price as a decent used car. So my first reason for taking on paying clients was to pay for my hobby. So that's how I began. And in fact, went on that way for several years and was perfectly happy doing that. But, I know you all have heard this story before, but along comes COVID and affects our lives in various ways. And in our family, though our children are grown and we're empty nesters mostly, you're always helping your kids and doing various things.
Right.
And our income levels changed. My husband's job dried to a trickle. And so my choices then were make my hobby pay or go and get a day job. But of
Yeah.
course, a day job is not that easy to come by. I'm
Right.
not massively qualified. I was a stay-at-home mom and a homeschooling mom. I have no letters after my name, right? So I chose the route of learning how to make my hobby be a paying business. And boy, it has been a roller coaster ride, but how rewarding. It's great.
Right. I love that. And I love what you said because it's so true. When the pandemic hit, so many lives shifted, and that's when you and I both saw more people coming into the online space for that reason, so that they could design a business and a life that was by their own design, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Instead of having to go get a job somewhere else.
And
So
I feel like we sort of almost blame a lot of things on the pandemic, but that's just one and a most recent large pivot. But other people have other things, illnesses or there can be anything that requires you to make a pivot, or there's a corner in the road that's unexpected, and these sorts of things can catapult you into a new journey. Don't fight it, embrace it.
right, yeah, we never know where something that appears to be an adversity, where it's going to lead us. I love that. My grandmother used to tell me that all the time. She's like, okay, you can make your plans, but God's got other things going on. So just
So
go.
true.
So when did it dawn on you? I know you mentioned in the pandemic you wanted to make some more money for your family. When did it dawn on you that you wanted to reach more people beyond your local market and have that larger audience on a global scale and teach on a bigger scale?
It came kind of gradually within the crafting and particularly the quilting world. Kind of the usual trajectory is once you're experienced and you have something to teach or products to sell, you go on circuit basically. So you go to quilt shows or events all over North America, particularly, but maybe even the world, and you present what you've got. So either you're a teacher at classes and you hire out, or you're a vendor in a booth and you sell your product. And that's how you build awareness and that's how you get visible. Well, again, we're coming into the pandemic and that's just not an option. So right away, I began to look for other ways. And this idea of getting in front of a virtual audience does not come naturally to me. I'll be really honest. I'm an extremely introverted and shy person. So very early in, I would say the spring of 2020. So we were well into the pandemic, but early in that spring, I began to see that in my world of quilting and crafts, everybody and their aunt was getting online with, sort of appalling degrees of success, dark videos, awkward videos,
Right.
unedited videos. And so I thought, well, hey, if they can do it and find an audience, I can be that good. Right. So everybody starts somewhere. And so I began, that was my initial outset, was going live on Instagram. And I did it almost every day for a period of about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And in that 6 weeks of time, my comfort level just changed. The idea of looking into a camera and talking to it, the idea of wearing a smile as you speak, reducing the ums and pauses, all those sorts of things just started to flow just by virtue of quantity.
Mhm.
So then the idea started taking shape. Okay, if I can teach this way and never have to leave the four walls of my house, why wouldn't I? So it's about that time that I came across our mutual virtual friend, Amy Porterfield, and that was the thing that propelled me down this particular road.
Got it. And so why, I think I know the answer based on what you just said, but I want everybody to hear, why did you decide that Amy Porterfield was the mentor for you? And for those that you don't know, Amy Porterfield has been a mentor of mine for a number of years, as well as Susan. We both went through her Digital Course Academy and launched our online programs with a lot of success through Amy's teachings. But what was it about doing a digital course that you knew was the answer to what you were doing?
For one thing, It did not require me to leave my house, right? Couldn't do that. Needed another avenue to reach people. For another, it's actually to me, a less threatening way of teaching because I can pre-record it. I can re-record it. I can script it in advance, or at the very least, I can write an outline.
Uh-huh.
And so the idea of creating my course and planning it in advance and then recording it, and then when I was reasonably satisfied with it, releasing it was far less fear building, was far easier for me than literally going cold in front of a live audience and presenting. So it's not a bad way to get your feet wet and to experience teaching because you get to practice your presentation over and over again until you're happy with it.
Right, right. I love that. And I want to back up for a second. I meant to say when you were talking about going live on Instagram, it, that many days in a row, you started to find your groove and you started to get comfortable with it, as you were saying. And a lot of people ask me, they see me now going live every week, but this is after several years of doing it. And they say, how are you so comfortable on camera? What they're just terrified. And what I always tell them is exactly what you just said. Just start doing it and you'll find your groove and it will come easier to you. So I love that you shared that because I think that's really going to inspire a lot of people that are scared to push the live button or scared to record anything. So
There
what was
is, can I just insert here? And I could tell a whole story and a background on this, but I don't think we have time for it, but I'll just say tiny. There is something to be said for quantity.
Mhm.
Don't tell yourself, I'm going to wait till I have great quality to release anything. You don't get great quality, especially in live appearances, without quantity. Just start doing it.
Right, right. I agree. Well, it's much like quilting. When you first started, as you got more quantity and more quilts under your belt, right? Your skills improved. Yeah, love it. That's awesome. Tell us about what was the first online course that you wanted to create?
I think I knew right from the outset that I wanted to do a pretty comprehensive and fairly large course. I know a lot of people start with very small kind of spotlight courses, that might be 20, 40, $50,
Right.
and get their feet wet in that way. Even before I took Digital Course Academy with Amy Porterfield, I knew that I had a lot I wanted to teach, and I decided to dive right in and do something larger. So my particular niche is what we quilters call freehand edge to edge. So it's quilting without the aid of a computer or a pattern in any way. That's the freehand part. And the edge to edge means quilting the same thing all across an entire quilt top.
Got it.
That's very intimidating to many quilters. You look at this huge expanse and you don't know where to start or where to go next, or how to create a design that you don't have a pattern for and you just need to repeat it over and over again. That's what I love
That is
quilting. That's
intimidating.
what I wanted to teach. So my first course, and in fact, my number one to this day, is a large 6-module, 30+ designs course that walks you through all these designs step by step, tools, all the things that support it. So it's fairly robust. And that's where I began. And it was a good place just because that's where my skill set and knowledge was.
Nice. I love that. That does, and just the visual of this expansive fabric and having to go from this edge to this edge and not screw it up. I can see why people would need you to help with them with that. So how has your business evolved though? Because you and I have been working together as clients for a while in my one-to-one program. And so I've seen the evolution of your business, but I would love for everybody that's listening to really understand. What I say a lot is where we start is not where we're necessarily going to end up. And our businesses are never, ever really fully built because we're not building like a McDonald's franchise where you build it and you hire the people and there it is and you go on and do another one. This is something that's going to ebb and flow and evolve with us as we grow. So how have things evolved from that first course to now? What's in your product suite and what kinds of things have you developed?
Well, I tell you what, I do not have a large product suite. Amy Porterfield is fond of saying you can make $1 million on one course, and I aim to prove her right. I'm not quite there yet. But I do just have the one main course, and I only have 2 smaller ones, and that's all. That's all the courses that I sell.
Mhm.
But maybe I shouldn't get into all the things that I have, but take it a little more chronologically through
Yeah.
the journey, because
Yes.
you are absolutely right. It's not a one and done thing. I probably will never achieve, oh, I'm finished. Here I
Right.
will rest. I've always got new ideas and always tweaking. And
Mhm.
the building of my business to date has looked very much like that. So I actually produced my course initially. I knew Amy Porterfield and followed her, and I absorbed, many of her podcasts and free material that she offers, but had
Mhm.
not taken her course building, her course on course building when
Mhm.
I first produced mine. So I built the course and I launched it late in 2020. I did a very small initial launch. I think it was November of that year.
Right.
And it didn't do super well. I think I made about $5,000 in my first launch, which is nothing to sneeze at. But now
Right.
looking back, that's like peanuts,
Right.
but it was enough to
Mhm.
whet my appetite and to say, "Oh, hey, this is worth doubling down on. This is worth sharpening my skills and really applying myself to and getting good at. If I can do 5,000 when I don't even know how to give a webinar or sell or market, then this is worth putting time into." So
Right.
2021 then became a significant year for me in terms of growth. So one
Mhm.
of the things I did was, in fact, purchase Amy's course. And it was really interesting for me. I think you and I have had a little bit different experiences here. She, of course, walks through the building of the course, but I
Mhm.
already had mine built and I found that it actually measured up pretty well. That was in my skill set. The idea of writing, of organizing my thoughts, of forming an outline, of not having too many frills and furbelows. My
Mhm.
course actually was pretty decent. But what I learned from Amy is how to market it
Mhm.
and how to present it and how to craft the landing or selling page for it.
Right.
So as I began to work my way through her course in 2021, I started one by one taking those elements and rethinking them. My landing page, I entirely rewrote and I used Amy's recipe.
Yeah.
She's proven it already. Why
Right.
reinvent that wheel? Boom,
Exactly.
put that in place. I dove into her course material and also her podcasts that surround marketing, how to get visible, how to build an audience, and
Mhm.
how to relate and reach to your audience. Learn what their questions are, learn what their pain points are, learn how to say to them, I can help you. I've
Mhm.
got some of the answers here for you.
Right.
2021 was vastly improved for me. I wrote down my numbers somewhere, Tracy, and I don't know, I've got notes everywhere. I don't know where they went. But it
That's
seems
okay.
to me that in 2021, I sold about $50,000 of my course over and over again. How much better was that? 2022, I more than doubled that. 2023, I'm set to more than double again.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that kind of business growth? So this has just been a series of taking the principles I've learned from Amy and a couple of others and
Mhm.
applying them, getting better and better and better at what I do. And every time I launch my course, and I do that now twice a year, so spring and
Mhm.
fall, I do a intentional build up to it,
Mhm.
content that relates to it, that builds my email list and audience. But
Right.
every time I do it, I tweak something else. I make it a little better. And
Mhm.
every time it performs a little better. One
Right.
tip I was going to give our listeners, your listeners, I think it's wise to find two or three people that you really admire in the business world that you really think you can learn from and want to emulate and absorb their content. For
Mhm.
me, anyways, it doesn't work well to take a snippet of this and a snippet of that because I end up being like a ping pong ball, so and so
Mhm.
thinks this is important and this person thinks that is important and I don't know what to focus on. So
Mhm.
Amy Porterfield was one of my people.
Mhm.
Marie Forleo was another. These solid gold people, and dive into their content and do what you're learning.
Right.
And it pays dividends massively.
Right. I agree with you completely. There is somebody for everybody in the online space. And when I find myself feeling like a pong ball, it's because I am listening to too many people. Because some people will say, for example, Facebook ads, that's the way to go. You have to do ads. And then other people like me are like, probably not going to do that. And then in the middle are the people that do a combination of the two. And so you can find, people have an argument on either side of whatever it is you're trying to do. And so it's easier, like you're saying, I completely agree with you, if you just pick out 2 to 3 people, so it doesn't get confusing.
Yes, the truth is none of those ways are more wrong or more right. It's just you need to stay focused. You need to stay in your lane because if you're constantly changing lanes, you're not as likely to be making solid progress. And
Right.
Tracy, you have been very good for me in this way. And this is why I hired you initially was to help me with maintaining focus and not getting, distracted by the shiny things because it's all too easy. You listen to someone else and you're like, "Oh, that sounds great. I want to do that." And really, there's nothing wrong with that. But if
Right.
you're already working on something else, get good at what it is that you're working on. Pay attention, stay focused,
Yeah.
and it will pay off. It really
I love
will.
that. I love that. And that's why I like to have a coach as well. Somebody that can kind of help me keep my blinders on and say, yeah, that's a great idea. We're going to put it in your parking lot and we're going to come back to it, or we're going to finish these other things first. And the other thing I love about what you said was you didn't just launch this once, make $5,000 and decide, well, this isn't going to be the moneymaker that I thought it was. You didn't compare yourself to other people. I see that a lot, and it hurts my heart when someone has a great program and I know how many people they're going to bless with it and they launch it and it isn't what so and so did. It isn't, we all think we've got to come out of the gate with these 5-figure launches and earn 6 figures the first year. And that's wonderful if you can, but that's not the reality for a lot of people. And what I love about what you said was you kept going. You didn't ditch it and change course to another shiny idea or program and you didn't throw the whole thing away. Can you speak to that? What the benefit is of doing what Amy teaches us, which is launch, launch again, launch again, launch again. Like, tell us why that was so important.
For one thing, you need a little bit of rear view perspective to know
Mhm.
where to go next. So until you've done, I would say at least 3 or 4 launches,
Mhm.
how can you even tell if you're improving?
Right.
2 doesn't even tell you. 1 may be great and the second may not be as great, but like
Right.
the third might knock it out of the park. And you
Right.
don't know that until you've done a few. And Amy's really big on this. She has some forms that she gives us, but the average person could do this in a spreadsheet.
Yes.
Track some of the things like what percentage of people that signed up for your webinar came and what
Right.
percent purchased your course
Right.
and how many sales did you have and perhaps which days in your launching process did you have the best ones.
Right.
Was it the one day that you were doing the live webinar, or was it the 2 weeks leading up to it that you were giving a bit of live content every day? Like, what was effective?
Right.
And you need to track those things in order to say, yes, they're working, do more of it, or no, they're not very effective. Maybe I should try something else. So
Right.
you need that rear view mirror perspective, I think, to
Mhm.
see where to go next. And I just think it's wisdom to hone in on one thing and get good at it. If I were to start another course right now, I would feel a little bit at loose ends because my workshop, for example, I always deliver my sales via a workshop. By the way, I have a free workshop, lots of content that's very closely related to what my course is, so that people kind of have a sampling. So when I say I deliver a workshop, it would be all new to me. The material would be new, the presentation would be new, and so I don't want to be flip flopping doing new things all the time. I want to get really good at the one thing I'm doing.
Right.
And so what I do to liven it up then is maybe change my workbook, change my graphics, change some of the photos. My material is very photo heavy because of my quilting. So I just freshen it up each time and I end up with people who come over and over and over again. And sometimes the third or fourth or fifth time through, now they're a buyer. Now we've built a relationship and now they're a trusted student and friend.
Right. Oh gosh, so many good things that you said in there that I want everybody to take note of. Launching and launching and launching again and tracking those stats. And this is something you and I have done as coach and client is I'm like, okay, Susan, that launch in February, what are the stats? And we list them. And that way we know when we get to the next February, we have something to compare it to because even times of year can play a part in what your conversions are. Is February the great time for you? Or is it summer? Some people it's great in summer, some people it's not. And then by launching and launching and launching again, you're actually able to start to get some apples to apples comparisons based on, okay, what happened last September? Okay, okay, we improved this September. And then you kind of have some things under your belt that way. That is solid gold right there. So
Mhm.
Let me ask you this, and I know you're honest, and this is one of the things I love about you. Um, did you think building an online course would be easy?
Boy.
Because I did, and I was wrong.
Mhm.
I mean,
I don't know that I did, Tracy. I think because I knew that getting on camera was not super easy for me to begin with. And I knew for sure that the whole tech side of things, like what kind of platform do you deliver a course on? And how do people purchase it? And how does the money change hands? And how do I give them their material? And how do I give them lifelong access? All of that, oh my word, is bewildering to me. And you know, maybe this is encouraging for someone watching. I'm 55, no secrets here.
I'm 53. Yeah.
This did not come easily to me. This does not still come easily to me. It's hard work for me to learn the tech side. But because I chose something that I'm passionate about and that I would be talking about whether or not I had an online course,
Yep.
I realize each person probably has their area that is tougher for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of went into it with a pretty realistic view of what part was tough for me, and it was the actual publication and delivery. So I did not expect it to be like a magic snapping of my fingers.
Right.
What's been incredible to me, Tracy, is the investment and the payoff. And I think, you know, back to our earlier comments about find some mentors, even if you don't know them in person, that you really admire and want to be like, love their work ethic or love who they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. So when I chose Amy Porterfield, she's right at the top of my virtual mentors. She has no idea who I am, but I love her. And I had faith in Amy, and therefore I was able to invest my time and my efforts into building this course because I trusted her system and that it would pay off in the end. So it's not like magic.
No,
It
it's
does
not
not
magic.
pay off immediately. It might not even pay off your first year or two. I don't know how long it will take, but
Right.
I am confident if you do what Amy says and you follow her advice,
Mm-hmm.
it will pay off.
Right.
And that has proven to be true for me. And I'm so glad I invested that time at the beginning. I feel like I have this association in my mind because when I was writing my course material, I bought a coffee membership at Panera Bread.
Yes.
I would go sit there in the early afternoons when there was nobody else and just keep refilling my coffee cup and writing out my material and working on my outline and reorganizing. So
Nice.
now every time I walk into Panera Bread, I'm like, course creation.
This is where it all started. Yeah, I love that. Speaking of where it all started, a lot of my clients and students, they get paralyzed because they're like, Tracy, I don't have an audience. I don't have an email list. I don't have anything. Well, I always tell them, remind them, we all have to start somewhere. We all start at zero, right? So when you are thinking about doing this online business and your course and starting at zero, like we all do, no email list, no social following, what did you tell yourself to keep moving forward? How did you move past any of the doubts or the fear that can start to crop up and really just keep us from moving forward?
I have a quote for you. This quote comes from a book. I have parallel journeys going in my life, and one of them is that I'm focusing on my health right now too. So this is by a Dr. Wayne Anderson, and it's in my Habits of Health book. But here's his statement. We make secondary choices to support our goal, not because we particularly like the actions, but because we like the outcome. That has stood me in such good stead. I knew where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted a course that I could build once and deliver over and over again, and it would keep providing income for my family. So, you know, do I love the tech side of things? No, I do not. And I probably never will. There are parts of it I do love. I don't mean to make it all sound like an ugly marathon. There are parts that I love. The teaching part, I absolutely love.
Right.
But knowing what my outcome is going to be makes it worth doing those things, makes it worth choosing to learn about video editing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of the outcome that I know will come.
Gosh, I love
Did
that.
that answer your question or did I just ramble?
No, absolutely. You answered the question. You've got that goal in mind, that vision, and you are just going to reach it, you know, come heck or high water because you wanted to create this business for your family. And so I love that because you just kind of said, okay, no fear, you know, go on your merry way. I'm going to figure this out. And so my next question is, and based on what you just said, I think we know the answer. What do you feel like has made you successful in the online space with your courses and your membership and the things that you've developed?
Well, you're going to love this one, Tracy. It's relationships. I love teaching
Me
and
too.
I love sharing.
Me too.
So, among the things that I do is I share quite honestly. So, for example, I have a YouTube channel, and most of my episodes on YouTube, I call them live and unscripted. And
Mhm.
they're literally me live streaming a quilting project. It's often a couple of hours long, and everything is included, warts and all. So, because I'm quilting, could be thread breaks, could be, ran out of fabric, backing of the quilt before I got to it could be whatever. I leave it in there. It's part of the show.
Mhm.
And this idea of being real with people, showing the actual time that it takes,
Yep.
showing the struggles that I sometimes have or the
Right.
decisions and choices that I have to make,
Mhm.
this has built a camaraderie between me and my customers and followers. And also because I'm live streaming these episodes, people can chat with me while we're doing it. So they ask questions
Nice.
or offer advice, as the case may be, while the show is going on, and I answer their questions and we banter back and forth. This idea of relationship building, I think it's very obvious in my live streaming, but I try to keep that even in my emails that go out
Mhm.
regularly. They're just conversational in tone. They're me talking to a quilting friend.
Right.
My social media posts, the same thing. They show my work. They show what I'm doing, what I'm struggling with, my successes and wins, and they invite conversation. That
Mhm.
is just so incredibly critical.
Yeah.
And this is the comment I get most often from people. Is I'm so glad to know you struggle with these things too. Thanks for sharing the nitty-gritty.
Yes. Yeah.
It's worth.
Yes. Yeah, I hear that a lot too. In fact, our Business Visibility Made Easy group had a live Q&A this morning, and I made the joke about how you shouldn't be afraid to show people your circus because it makes you more human. You know, that there's times when my dog has to go out to the bathroom in the middle of my lives, or one time during a live masterclass, he decided to just get sick. And I was like, well, this is great. Let me hold on, let me help the dog for a second. But and then people worry about their kids running through the room or the doorbell ringing or their thread breaking, or for me, fumbling over my notes and my words and making up words as I go. And that is what makes us human and makes that deep connection and the relationship. And I love that, Susan. I know you're a relationship person, but I wanted everybody else to hear that too. So what is your favorite thing about being an online course creator?
What is my favorite thing? I think it probably has to be the people that I meet. Not only do I meet them via, these social platforms and get to know their names and kind of who they are, but I actually get to meet some of these people in real life now because we've formed this connection.
Yeah.
But what's so amazing to me is the fact that I have that ability to form something online, to meet people all
Mhm.
kinds of places in the world. And I may or may not meet them in person in future, but I make these friends everywhere.
Right.
Speaking of live streaming, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were doing a live stream, and my husband is the producer. So he's always sitting at the computer, monitoring the comments and the people coming in. And I invite people to say where they're watching from. We had 11 countries represented, Tracy, watching quilting live streaming. I mean, Germany and Bolivia and South Africa and Madagascar and all these places.
That's
So
so
cool.
cool.
How could I ever do that? I could never travel to all those places a dozen times in a year. Like there's not a hope, but I get to come into people's living rooms and sewing rooms and we get to chat and become friends. It's just amazing.
Yeah. It is amazing to me that how the reach we can have in with technology and the way the world is right now. So what's your least favorite thing?
Well, my least favorite is kind of a double-edged sword because it's kind of a flip side of the fact that I get to meet people the world over online. Also, the online world can be a time suck,
Yeah.
and it can be hard in that there's a certain percentage of people on there, and you all know what I mean when I say they hide behind their keyboard, right? And can
Yes.
be very sharp and very critical because
Right.
it's safe.
Right.
They're not looking you in the eye and saying ugly things.
Right.
So there's these two sides to that, the whole online accessibility that we have for each other.
Mhm.
So it's just a matter of trying to keep that in perspective. It really is. For sure, the generous, kind, wonderful people in the quilting world far, far, far outnumber the critical fault finding people. So it's just a matter of keeping those things in perspective in your mind. You do have to grow a little bit of a thicker skin, but
Yeah.
just keeping a mental perspective too on what social media and social platforms are.
Mhm.
They aren't life. They're just a medium. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, in fact, I know you're going to share a link for this. I'm speaking in a summit on Saturday about this idea of crafting your personal, your perfect social media audience that knows and likes you and actually is willing to pay you for your knowledge and skill.
Yeah.
And it's kind of highlighting this push and pull of social media. A lot of us have thought of it in my age group anyway. Think of it as sometimes a very negative place.
Mhm.
People express their opinions too freely or whatever, and
Right.
I want to show how it can also be a very positive place and a place of growth and a place of connection.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite and least favorite all wrapped up in one thing.
I love it. I love that. So you and I met, we've already talked about it through Digital Course Academy. I was an alum and you were a new student and we connected. And I've been fortunate enough to be your coach ever since then with a front row seat to watch your business grow and scale. Did you have any reservations about joining Digital Course Academy and diving into this new online phase of your business?
I don't think I did. Initially when I first met Amy, heard about her, started following her, and she was talking about the course. Initially, that price tag seemed big. But
Mhm.
after I had done a couple of launches, and I think I was maybe 4 launches in before I actually purchased DCA, by the time I did buy it, I had some perspective about the price tag and what the payoff could be. And
Right.
by then, it seemed a very reasonable cost for the payoff that I hoped to have, and in fact have had. So
Mhm.
I have zero regrets. And in fact, that was over 2 years ago now. So I'm seriously thinking about going back through the course again. I've dabbled in it since, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking about going through it from start to finish again because I feel like, just as we talked about earlier, it is a revolving and evolving skill set.
Yes.
And, the first time through, you learn A, B, and C. And the second time through, you learn, W, X, Y. Right? So there's just different things to pick up each time. And
Yeah.
I think my experience was a little different than yours in this way, Tracy. I was happy with my course material when I went into it.
Right.
And my focus was in learning how to market it and how to present it and sell it. So each of us is at a different place in our journey, right? And I don't feel like if I had bought it earlier, it would have helped me more. I think it might have been overwhelming. I might have drowned in the content.
Mhm.
Where because I had my course already built, I could focus on that marketing and really dive in and soak it up. So each of us has our different journey, but I have never for a second regretted. It has paid off over and over and over again.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Same for me. When I had launched a few times before going into DCA, and I was concerned about the investment because I had spent quite a bit of money on other programs and coaches that did not help me at all. And so I was a little skeptical and a little scared, but it has been the best thing that's happened to my business. How has your life changed since going through Digital Course Academy, creating your online business? What are some things you've been able to give up or add to?
Oh gosh, there's been a few things. Certainly financially, our picture has changed, and that early period with COVID and just some other circumstances that were in our life, we were in a rough spot. My husband and I are about the same age. We were, about late 40s, early 50s, and we didn't have a lot of security financially. So now to have that rapidly changing, that picture changing, oh my goodness, that is worth its weight in gold. But here's one little plug for my husband, and one thing that has changed. So he's been such a sweetie. He is a tech guy, right? So he's
Mhm.
my producer on my live streams. He's just the backbone of, when I say, how do I do this, how do I do that, how do I do the other, and he's always the researcher and the finder of products and apps and programs and all of that stuff. So after my last launch, I actually sort of wrote him a blank check. Well, I mean, it did have a ceiling on it, but let me buy a car. And he hunted for like 6 months for this car, and he bought a Maserati Ghibli, and it is a
Nice.
and you know what? It's not your hyper luxury item. It's a used car. It's a number of years old, but oh, is it ever a sweet drive? And we just love it. So we treated ourselves, and to have the freedom to be able to choose to do that, and not, it was not reckless, right? It was proportional
Right.
to what we earned and what we needed and where we are in our lives, and, empty nesters and all that stuff.
Right.
And it was just a sweet, sweet reward for the
Oh,
work that we've put in.
I
So
love that.
it's fun to have those opportunities. And
It is.
and the doors are still opening. I don't even know what's around the next corner, what opportunities
Right.
might open up. I just don't know. I look forward with enthusiasm.
Well, and I remember last Q4 of 2022, when you and I were working together, wasn't there like an entire month and a half that you were able to take off from your business, at least take up the gas pedal off, because your family needed you to travel to help take care of your grandchildren? And
Yes.
I remember very distinctly you being so thrilled that you were able, because of your business, to be able to say yes and go
Mhm.
do that.
You're right. And I hadn't even thought of that one, Tracy, but in two ways. Number one, financially, it was 5 weeks that I went to Northern Canada, stayed with my daughter and her little family. So financially, I was able to, as you say, take the foot off the gas pedal, but also practically speaking, because my business is largely online now, I could still continue the things that I needed to. So, for example, at that period of time, I had just finished a launch. I had all these new students coming through my course, and
Right.
I offer weekly live Q&A sessions and interaction. Well, I
Right.
was able to keep that up though I was at my daughter's home, and I could do it from a beach in Costa Rica. I could do that from anywhere.
Mhm.
I've built that structure, and that's one of the freedoms that doing online types of presentations will give you. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So tell us, what would you say to somebody that's watching us right now that is maybe stuck in a 9 to 5 soul sucking job like I was for many, many years in corporate, or they have an in-person one-to-one type business model like you had and started out with locally, but they know in their heart that they really want to reach more people
Mhm,
and that they could do it with an online course, but they're scared? What would
mhm.
you say to them?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say to them is come and watch my Saturday summit, because I'll talk about all these points in greater depth. But super, super briefly, building an audience is critical, and not necessarily a big one, but the right one.
Yes.
So start talking about on your social media, on pictures that you post, on videos that you post. Start talking about the thing that you're passionate about or want to offer, so
Mhm.
that you become known for that thing. So for me, it was freehand, edge to edge quilting. So I literally stopped posting, or at least slowed to a trickle, posts that had to do with my cat or my food or my personal things, or
Right.
spectacular custom quilting or ribbons that I won, because that was not the people I was aiming for, right? I
Right.
was aiming for average couch quilts, people that just need encouragement and how to get started and confidence. That's the thing I posted, so that I started building this relationship with the people that I knew needed what I had to offer. And
Yeah.
from there, I think I started, when I began my course, I think I had an email list of about 300, which is pretty darn tiny, right?
But it's still
Well,
good.
it's not awful. That's right. But the trick was that there were 300 people that were interested in the type of quilting I had to offer. These
Right.
weren't just 300 random people, right?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so in building it, I geared my building toward attracting the kinds of people that are in my world, that are in my community. And then you've got a very warm audience, and be generous and share what you have freely. You do
Yes.
this too, Tracy. There's so much readily available material, and people already know and like and trust you
Mhm.
long before you suggest to them that they buy something from you. And
Yeah.
so when they do come to buy, they can be confident about your purchase. You mentioned that you've purchased some other courses that, maybe didn't help, and we've
Yeah.
all done that, right?
Mhm.
So the key is, you want people to know you before you ask them to buy something from you. So
Yeah. Yeah.
show your work, let people get to know you,
Love
and
it.
that builds the platform, the foundation.
Yeah. And building that right audience is so key. I would rather have 300 dialed in, right fit people on my email list than 10,000 any day of the week.
Mhm.
Tell us, I know everybody's dying to know, because you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram. what is the best platform for you? Where have you found the most growth?
I think it's probably YouTube. Now, my online course is still the bread and butter financially of my business, but my growth and my relationship building, and I think my visibility is best on YouTube, just because that platform lends itself to the thing I do. It's very visual, right? And so the idea of showing what I do and talking about it, and particularly in my lengthy live streams, it's kind of a match made in heaven, right? It's a great showcase for
Yes.
what I do. May not be the same way for everybody, but that has worked super well for me. For others, it might be the spoken word. So, maybe podcast is a better fit. I've kind of dabbled in all of these and they've all been fun, but YouTube seems to be the perfect match for what I do.
Got it. Love it. Anything else you want to add really fast before I check and see what kind of questions we have from the audience?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Just if you're passionate about something, do it, share it. Like you won't know until you try, and then give it a little time, water it and feed it, and watch it flourish.
Love that. Just get started, right?
Just get started.
Yeah. So, okay, we do have a couple of really great questions. We have lots of great comments. You guys
Okay.
are the best. The ladies in the group are just, they're so excited about everything you're saying. One of the questions is, and it says Facebook user, so I can't see their name. I'm sorry. It says, is your course on Evergreen or are you still launching it live?
I still launch mine live. That may change over time, but for me, that has felt like a good fit because I value the connection so much. And so I choose to do it twice a year. And then there's quite a bit of follow up and interaction with my students after they purchase. And if it was evergreen, I sort of couldn't do that because they'd all be at different places all at different times. So I kind of follow them through and we get together every week for 6 or 7 weeks. That works well for me. So I'm not very experienced in the evergreen yet. Sometime down the road, I'll give that a try too.
Right. Yeah. Same here. I'm still launching live and I love it.
Yeah.
And the other question we have is your YouTube channel monetized?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
And, does it go great guns? No. Like I said, my course is still the major chunk of my family income, but the YouTube channel is growing, probably the thing that is growing the fastest. Yeah.
Do you want to share really quick how you grew it so massively for your last launch, the last launch you had where I know what you did for 30 days. What'd you do?
Yeah. I went on YouTube live every day for 30 days. So, whatever your platform is, you could do it there. I chose YouTube because I wanted to see YouTube growth and it's just a platform I'm comfortable on. So I did a casual live every single day for 30 days. And as it happens, at least one of those days, we were out shopping for the car I told you about earlier. And I saw we weren't going to make it home before like 11 o'clock at night. So I actually stopped in a Costco where I was buying my supper and stood in front of their pretty plants and did a live right there. Because my commitment was I'm going to say something live every day. And it always had to do with quilting or the journey. And sometimes it was a tip, and sometimes it was just talking about what I'm working on today. And sometimes it was a ask me anything, but whatever. I just got in there and made connections every single day.
Love it.
I should have been more prepared with numbers, Tracy. I don't have them right in front of me, but you remember there was a distinct spike in my followers, in my email list people, and in my YouTube channel. And definitely due to that 30 days. And I'm doing that again this time, by the way, starting next week.
Yeah. And your revenue too from that last launch.
Yeah.
Since we track all of that. Oh yeah. Yeah. That was a massive win for you. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for being here. Could you tell everybody again, remind them where they can find you and connect with you?
Sure. So my business name is Stitched by Susan. So I have that name everywhere across all the platforms. So you can find me at Stitched by Susan. Certainly on my website, you can find details about my masterclass that I've been talking about and a couple of other small courses that I offer and links to my YouTube channel, to blog posts, things like that. So all of that information is there. And there is also a link for one free class that I offer. So anyone who is a quilter who is listening, who perhaps wants to know more about this process, check out that free All Over Feathers class. I know you and Jill will provide a link for that too.
Yes, Jill has that link. She's going to pop that into the comments for us. She also has the link to the summit that you were talking about. And you said that's on Saturday. Is that correct?
Correct. So it is a quilters summit. And so today and tomorrow, there are lots of free classes about quilting. But on Saturday, there are some live Zoom presentations that are slightly other topics. And mine, as I mentioned, is on crafting your perfect social media audience. So you don't have to be a quilter. It's for anyone who's trying to build an audience that perfectly fits them and perfectly suits their niche.
Nice. I love it. Okay, my friends, you know how impactful Amy Porterfield's programs have been for my business. And now you've heard from Susan. Amy has helped over 50,000 people take their idea, just like us, from idea all the way to creation of the online course, learning how to launch it, learn how to market it, learn how to rinse and repeat that so you learn each time you go. And if you've been with me for any length of time, you know I say this often. I've wasted thousands of dollars and over a year mucking around with other course creation programs and coaches. I wish I had found Amy and Digital Course Academy first. It would have saved me thousands of dollars and a year and a half of time. I don't want you making the same mistake I did. You know that I'm an affiliate for Digital Course Academy, so join us. Go through Digital Course Academy. And as Susan said, she's been through it already. She's going to go back through it. And one of the cool things Amy does for us, we don't have to buy Digital Course Academy again. We have it for a lifetime. So every time she updates it, which she does every other year, unless it needs tweaking sooner than that, we get all the new updates. So Susan and I are going to have the brand new program when the doors open. I'm a proud partner. I'm an affiliate. My gift to you is massive. You will get 2 programs for the price of 1. When you join Digital Course Academy through me, you are going to get a front row seat in my 8-week live collaborative group coaching program called Business Visibility Made Easy. You get that for free as my thank you. My program is $997. But when you purchase Digital Course Academy through my specific affiliate link, you're going to get it for free. I'm going to teach you I have over 10 strategies I can teach you about email list growth, about growing the right audience like Susan and I are talking about. And it doesn't have anything to do with paid ads. And I'm not going to tell you to go create another truckload of free lead magnets. Most list building courses, that's what they teach, is create a lead magnet and put it out on social. I'm going to tell you every other thing you need to be doing to grow your email list. So if you're ready to grow an audience and an email list and create your online course, come join us. Jill is going to toss the link to that in the chat. My affiliate link is tracybeavers.com/DCA for Digital Course Academy. And if you have a question about Digital Course Academy or about Business Visibility Made Easy, my bonus, let me know. Don't wait one more day stuck in a 9-to-5 job that's not serving you like I did, or building a business on one-to-one services, which is great, but is going to limit you in terms of your ability to grow and scale your income over time. Let's shortcut your learning curve and get your online business growing before the end of the year together. In my Facebook group, there are many Business Visibility Made Easy students and alums. There are also a lot of Digital Course Academy alums. Ask them about their experience. I know they'd be happy to share it with you. And I want you to be here live with me every Thursday at 11:30 Central. Put it on your calendar, set that phone alarm so you don't miss anything. I do live trainings twice a month, and then I have a guest expert come in, and then we do an entrepreneurial inspiration interview that always leaves me jazzed up and ready to take on whatever's coming next to my business. And you hear me say this every single week, don't go it alone. Being an entrepreneur is hard. Some days everybody wants to buy what you're selling, and other days nobody can remember your name and your phone is not ringing anymore, right? Your email inbox is empty. But if you think you're alone in that roller coaster, you are not. And the best thing to do is join a community of like-minded entrepreneurs so you can band together and get the support you need. And you can do that in my free Facebook group, Be a Confident Entrepreneur, Get Visible, and Grow Your Income. I want you to have a great balance of the week and weekend. And remember, when one of us rises, we all rise. So we have to keep cheering each other on. And Susan, thank you so much again for being with us.
Thanks a bunch for having me, Tracy. It's been so fun.
It has been. It's always a pleasure to be with you. All right, my friends, I will see you next week.